everybody. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Over Your New Reader. I have a guest. I always have a guest. That's not a surprise. If I have a new guest, Quantum Dave. Quantum Dave, welcome.
Thank you. Hello.
Over Your New Reader. Welcome to your condition.
I'm definitely your new reader.
Woo! Technically, we both read this newly, but I'm the older reader as far as comic books, which is a newer situation for me. I've been doing this for like 5 years. I think James would know better. But so Dave, what kind of geeky stuff are you into? What's your kind of like comic book background or not background? What are you?
So comic books is still kind of breaking into the scene, kind of an overall. Most of my comic book background is going to be more manga experience, just from having lived overseas for a while for that. So my specialty is kind of why Godzilla is perfect for today, kind of the post World War II modern Japan history. So this fits in really well with that. But so lots of manga from the past, but some of the more Western comics like Invincible is a big one. Love the art, love the storyline of that. And then you've also shared quite a few with me too. So I'm trying to break into it a little bit more, which is fun.
You know, I'm always out here trying to convert people. So
yes, you're my dealer. You're my dealer, just slipping the books my way to be like.
I don't know what hand signals I'm doing. I'm just trying to throw any that seem like cheese. So today we're reading Godzilla, the James Stokoe Deluxe Edition. So I picked this because I told chat a few times a while ago after watching Godzilla -0 that I was in love, and that I was like, I think I'm a Godzilla girly now. Which feels like such a dumb thing to say, but that's exactly what I said when I finished the movie. I was like, am I a Godzilla girly? Because -0 was incredible. And so I asked them for suggestions, and everyone recommended this. And then you and I recently, with some friends, watched Shin Godzilla.
Yes. Yeah, that was
great.
Quite the experience. Probably good you start with Godzilla -1 and then worked your way back to that.
Yeah. -1 wasn't -0, -1.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But just for the what would be the political situation in Japan, and that's it.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of fun. It was entertaining to watch.
Well, it was great to watch it together because you and I, because the Shin Godzilla movie is so much about like Japanese bureaucracy and how that deals with, of course, like Godzilla. And you and I both live in Japan, so we're like, this is
like I saw that. I know exactly what they're doing there. Yeah.
But that's all my Godzilla knowledge.
Yeah, mine is not very extensive either. So that's why I'm the new reader for this too. It's just Godzilla. It's mostly just the movies. I haven't read any of the other comics for it. I've seen the movies from 1954, I think was the first one.
Yeah.
And onwards. But yeah.
Yes, this is interesting. And so I'm excited to get some talk about it and then see from chat, like people who are like bigger into Godzilla that comment on. Because I mean, everything I heard from chat and like looking online, they're like, is this the best Godzilla comic? Like there's a lot of high praise for this. And so we'll get into it. We talk with chat, because welcome to the show where we chat about the book and then we just chill with the chat basically.
Yeah.
And so this is actually a little bit shorter than I thought. So we're reading the deluxe edition, which is I love that it's pink. Which is actually a little bit shorter than I thought it would be because it's a beautiful deluxe cover. It's a beautiful collected edition by Anti-Megalosaurus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they did a great job with it.
But I will say a lot of the end of it, a lot of it is the cover gallery. So like a good portion of this book, for anybody who hasn't purchased it, this much is just covers and some art. So
and even kind of like the Godzilla in Hell is almost like that in its own way. It does have some of a storyline, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit, but it is also just kind of feels like an art piece. And I think that feels like that's why they made that. Doesn't fit with any of the rest of the plot. It's just, what if Godzilla fell into hell? Just meta-tortured version of himself and ended up it's great.
So this first part is Godzilla and the Half-Century War. So this is I don't know how many issues this is. I have it on my list right here. 5 issues. So Godzilla, the Half-Century War, came out 2012. My cat is losing her mind. I apologize. Everybody can hear her. And we first start out. It starts out with in Japan in 1954. We have 2 characters here. They've been brought in. We have Lieutenant Ota Murakami, who works with the Japanese self-defense, and his friend Kentaro. So, like, as a kind of a preview of like what the art looks like, which is really the sell here, because James Stokoe does all the writing and the art, but there is some color assist here by her name, Heather Brechtel. Oh my god, my cat! I'm so sorry. She's in minor bit. Girl, you're not Godzilla. You're just a cat.
Just wants to join you.
So this basically centers around these two mostly, but mostly Ota.
Yeah, primarily Ota.
Yeah.
Well, he's got some good bounce offs between Kentaro and then what was the major's name or the colonel's name again?
Oh gosh,
Colonel Schooner or something like that.
That is, yes, Schuler.
Schuler, that's it.
Yeah. So basically, they are the one of the first people that they get to see Godzilla in Tokyo and see Godzilla wreak this havoc in the city, and they end up surviving it. But they even distracting Godzilla, and after that, they're recruited to be part of this task force. The I should have taken notes. Was it AMF, the Anti-Megalosaurus force.
Yeah.
And so it's just like they thought they're done. They've witnessed this very traumatic thing. This is not unlike a lot of like from Godzilla movies I've seen, where like you just kind of fall into it, and then like it's such a traumatic event that you then become obsessed with Godzilla. And so then we follow them from country to country in different time periods as they are dealing with Godzilla and like learning more about Godzilla. And even says right here, after he's joined the task force, that's where my half-century obsession with Godzilla would start. I'd find myself in front of him again soon enough, but next time I'd have much bigger guns. And it's this great page where really we're seeing a complete story and timeline and cycle of Ota and
Godzilla. Yeah, and it's sort of like the whole thing is I love seeing it all in this combined format like this, because I guess my guess would be that it was probably broken up by those year segments when they jump from like 1954 to 1974 or whatever it is when they hop to the Vietnam War or Vietnam War time. But it's the whole thing is really like seeing that arc of the relationship between the two of them from the beginning to the end, and how it changes him is really satisfying to see. And that's why I'm really glad it's all in like one place for that, because I would be so disappointed if I just read the first two and then all of a sudden I was like, well, what now? So yeah,
absolutely.
I love the combined volume like this.
Like I love the first part a lot, because I mean, as some, I've only seen 2 Godzilla movies so far, -1 and Shin Godzilla. And so anytime seeing him in Japan is great. I'm glad that they decided to make this more of like a through different time periods Godzilla story, so you really get to see how it develops and how the nations develop around it and how they're working on things. But even from like the get-go, the colors are beautiful, and Godzilla is like all this is gorgeous.
Oh, the whole
the
thing
way he's illustrated
is just the whole thing beginning to end. You can tell why the issues were so small and why we ended up with such a small collection in the end, because it's so detailed. That was the first thing. The first thing I saw when I opened it was when I just went, oh God, how long did it take them to fill this in? Like, did they have just like, is it like the anime style where they had like 10 interns just slaving away 18 hours drawing in every little scale on Godzilla? And this, obviously, it predates anything we'd have now with like AI assistants to kind of like, fudge it. Like, yeah, we drew a couple of scales and then we had AI fill in the rest for us. Like, no, there's no way. This is just, the detail is incredible. Between the scales and the cloud, like the volumetric effects in the background.
I mean, they didn't skimp on anything. Like even, this is just from issue 1, but this particular one, every bit, every window, every scale, every bit of everything falling apart is so well detailed, and also just so distinct as well. Like this, his art style throughout this it feels very like it's what's the word? Very detailed, but it's still very charismatic. Like it's very character driven. Like everything feels so distinct and so his work in such a cool way that I'm not used to with like that would expect would be awarded to a Godzilla comic. I guess. Like, I would see this as being like an indie book, maybe. Like, yes, indie book, you get that like a kind of art, but not necessarily like this, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, even the detail down to the levels of like, was it a Panzer tank? No, Sherman tank that they're in for the first big chunk of it, which is what Japan was left with after the Korean War, and the US, like getting down into the detail on the motors and the treads and everything else, and it's just a tiny little part of the panel. Like it might be something that's down at like the bottom corner of it, and they have every little bit of it as part of it. But yeah. And even the buildings have like, you look down and it's like you can almost read the names of the I'm getting blown out. Maybe the camera will fix itself here, but
happens.
Wow. You can almost read the restaurant names, and they're just tiny little detail. I love it.
So as we go on, like, so we after like issue 1, we go into Vietnam in 1967. So he's obviously spent time, and now we see that like he has spent more time just kind of tracking Godzilla and trying to see what happens. And it was great at this point too. I really like that we get to see his development too, because he's like, okay, now it's like they're old friends in a way. It's like, oh, I know Godzilla now. I've been following him all this time. I know his patterns, or at least I thought I did. And now we've got this other person to play, which I really enjoy about this part, because we're in the Vietnam War, so already we're just seeing like wars in the background for Godzilla throughout this, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it kind of follows global conflict as part of it, which I don't know how deep into spoilers we get on this channel.
We spoil on this channel.
We spoil, okay. But it's kind of got the StarCraft 2 vibe, where it's got that psionic transmitter. So there's the secondary plot line with sort of an antagonist, but it only kind of comes in and out of the show. But like that person is following global conflict from place to place to place, and therefore it's just dragging Godzilla with it, and then Ota with Godzilla.
And I thought that was really interesting way to do it, because if you try to think of I like, from what I understand about Godzilla so far, in chat, like, please, I'm gonna have to rely on a lot of you guys towards the end of this to hear more about like what Godzilla comics to read, and even movies and stuff, because we're both new to Godzilla as a whole. But to always see Godzilla as part of like a society, like commentary in a way, is always really interesting. And so of course you have people that are like, okay, if we're gonna put Godzilla as like this natural disaster, like destructive force, these big times of conflict, how would the world use it? And so of course you've got some guy that's like, oh, we developed a transmitter that summons him to us. It summons these monsters to us. So I'm going to sell that to people. I'm going to sell that to people at war, and they don't have to use bombs. Bombs are messy. We even get more of that later. It's like, why not summon this destructive force or this like natural disaster?
Yeah,
that's how they describe him, to your city, and it'll ruin it for him. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of comes from like the original Godzilla movies too, where it was all that post-war fear about nuclear weapons, but also the fact that nuclear weapons were so powerful that felt like conventional weapons were just like, why bother? There's no point in having a conventional warfare anymore. So Godzilla became this metaphor for what did I put down? It's like inevitability. Or natural force. It was just like, well, your weapons aren't going to do anything to it, and you just got to lean back and go, okay, we're going to go with the flow here, see what happens, and just see where it goes.
And then of course you have this. When you do the transmitter, it's like a good thing of saying like, the things that you're doing to like the people that are upending you to try to sell this war, I don't know, technology to people, are just making the situation worse. Because as he does that to summon Godzilla, as he thinks, oh, it's just going to summon Godzilla, we start summoning other creatures, other beings here that also mess everything up, and then leads to these other favorites from the Godzilla timeline of all the other big names. Like, well, Mothra's the one that I know, of course, which feels like a girly stereotype for me to know who Mothra is. But we get like Rodan, and they even like say like the different areas that they show up in, which is really interesting. But like, oh no, I'm not gonna say any of these names because some Godzilla fans are gonna be like, why don't you know? Because I don't. We got Megalon, we got this like bug looking dude. But they look very
I'm
cool.
trying
Like
to get to the page. Yeah.
very curious about it.
Megalon, Mothra, Rodan, Ebira,
Yeah.
Ghidorah, Batra. Yep.
Because like right after Vietnam, they start showing up in Ghana, and by then they've like the world's created a task force. It feels very like Pacific Rim, where
Yeah.
like they have like these different groups that are like, okay, you guys are in charge of following this kaiju. You're in charge of this kaiju. You got the hippies that are in love with Mothra, and it's almost like they're following them because they're trying to protect people. In a way, they become their fans, which is a very much like, of course, you study anything, and even like Ota, like he kind of in a way, because he has literally no one else besides Kentaro, his like partner, you know, at work.
And even their relationship is built on tracking Godzilla
yeah.
across the world.
His obsession, he's got nothing else going on for him.
But it makes you wonder about all the other like the other storylines we didn't get to see with these other people who are tracking the other monsters and where they come from, like what's their stomping ground around the world. But yeah, just the whole thing. I love the emotional arc that they run Ota through from beginning to end. It's not not quite the 5 stages of grief, but it's sort of like in that vein where it's like at the start of it, it's all about fear and terror, and they're running from Godzilla and they're trying to push him away. By the time they get to Vietnam, it's all anger and like, we're here, we're going to kill Godzilla. We're working on these lasers. We're going to use them and hit him in the eye, like try and kill him. And then you get to the part where they're coming up on Accra, and he's just sitting there in the window looking at Godzilla, and it just, you can tell he's just completely apathetic at that point. He's just like, what are we doing here, man? Godzilla, what are we doing? Like they're just looking at each other like, eh.
Yeah, by then it's like old hat, which is great. Yeah, because you have like you said, he's young, it's new, he's scared, but he's trying to fight it. By the second one, he's like, oh, I understand Godzilla. I've got this.
Yeah.
And then he's just humbled. And then the third one, there's just more happening, and more is going bad. By the fourth one, he's like, we've accepted we can't do anything. Everyone's given
can't
up.
Do anything.
Everyone's quit.
Just kind of the acceptance stage, I think. At that
I'm
point,
an old man, and I am just here to monitor him. While all of this is happening, they're like in a little van, him and Kentaro, all this is happening, this huge fight, and they're just watching it. They're just like, man, it's another day. Ota goes out for his like smoke break. You know?
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, whatever. Oh, we made a mecha Godzilla. Okay, well, you know, like as readers were going
the
like,
kids
oh,
got
cool.
all the cool toys.
Yeah.
I wish I could pilot that guy.
Well, in my day, we didn't have mecha Godzillas to go.
We didn't
after
have
him.
a Power Ranger Zord.
Yeah.
Which it does, you know, I'm sure it's very different, but I look at that and I see the green Power Ranger Zord. That's all I see.
Oh, really?
That's all I see. I don't know if you're a Power Rangers kid. Oh wait, no, you had a sad child.
Yeah, cool I didn't get to see much of that as a kid. No, I have a request in from a friend though to make a Green Power Rangers sword, which I've got the parts for that.
He's one of my first loves, Tommy, Green Power Ranger. Rest in peace. But I love this because you still have your guy, Deverick.
Which one?
Still, Deverick is like our bad guy, right? Because he's still doing the same
okay.
Things. He is perfecting his machinery. He's still doing it despite everything. Despite all the havoc and the new creatures showing up from space. Even.
It makes me wonder, too, like, they title it The End of the World by the end of it, and he's like, I want $50 million. Like, what are you going to do with the $50 million at this point? The world's, like, flattened. All the major cities are destroyed. So I was like, okay, well...
Yeah,
cool.
well, and you could liken that to nuclear war and stuff too. He's like, it's just gonna get worse. You have to stop. You cannot keep doing this. We've brought more creatures here from Earth. Now you brought another one from space. That's just another Godzilla, which is hilarious. They're like, you just brought us another Godzilla.
And maybe this is where Chad can chime in. Like, is that a recurring Godzilla character? The one with crystals coming out of his. And he's like tethered to a crystal. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that one before, but
yeah, chat. I will need movie recommendations as well. Like, what's worth watching? Because now I am. because part of me is curious. Like, I really enjoyed this, but I also think would I have enjoyed this more as someone's like, oh man, this one showed up, if I had seen it to like appreciate the different characters. Because this one showed up and I just thought, oh man, it's another Power Rangers monster. Because again,
Yeah.
my exposure to kaiju like things are all from Sentai shows like that and like Kamen Rider. And stuff that I grew up with, like Beetleborgs, because I'm really cool. You should watch Beetleborgs, just one episode, so you can be like, why did they do this? Why did America take footage from a Japanese show about kids transforming into like Sentai, but they live in a haunted house with the Elvis looking ghost and a werewolf? You gotta watch one episode of Beetleborgs. Anyways.
Okay.
Welcome to my
another one of those shows where they like all they took was the fight footage and then everything else was okay. Yeah.
It's incredible. The fact that they're like, let's put them in a haunted house. Nothing to do with Beatles. Yes, thank you, James. And the theme song slaps. Big bad Beetleborgs. It's so cool. It's not, but I think it's cool. But yeah, so I love the end of the world bit too. So we get to this point where like, and it's really sad. Like all of this is still happening. Nothing is stopping.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, so here we are, 2002. So here we finally are, nearly 50 years after man dropped the bomb and Godzilla crawled out of the ocean to change the face of the world forever. I can only imagine that some of these things must correlate to some movies. Because I'm sure they take some inspiration from how things went in some of the movies. It seemed inevitable that it would end up like this. But he gets so introspective. He's there. He's like, I forgot where he is, but I assume in the North Pole. It looks cold.
Yeah, it looks like because it looks like there's not much of Earth left at that point, and they're just somewhere abandoned and sort of.
Antarctica.
Okay.
He said the hard truth is I've never really understood Godzilla. I've had my theories and reasonings, but he's a bigger puzzle than one man can ever stand in a lifetime. But I love it because it ends with, but I'll be damned if I let this whole thing end without him knowing that I exist.
Yeah.
Because he spent his whole life.
Like I want him to see me and know that I spent my whole life on him.
Yeah, because he's Kato's an old man now. He's still saying he's there with the Mecha Godzilla, which is not a Zord, even though I want to call it a Zord. It looks like a Zord. Yeah. And he's probably dying from smoking cigarettes too much, which,
Oh, yeah. He's
props
definitely...
to him. Kentaro's
where he's just
smoking.
Like... He tells him, stop smoking. It's like, we've been chasing a radiation lizard for 50 years now. You really think the cigarettes are going to get me?
Yeah, by then it's got even worse. Like, they're up in Antarctica. King Ghidorah shows up. Gigon, which King Ghidorah is a name I recognize.
That's another one where the detail that they put into...
It's wild.
It is wild, yeah.
Like, he obviously has a lot of respect for the genre and for the characters that came before this, which I'm sure, you probably can't get away with just, like, casually drawing Godzilla, but this man...
I'm sure they vetted him pretty well
showed
before.
So much attention to detail. It's so impressive.
Yeah. I just love at that point, these two is like, he's friends with Godzilla, kind of.
Yeah, I was really glad.
This odd social relationship, or at least in his head, between the two of them.
Yeah, because by the end, these two show up, and Godzilla is fighting them, but also he's fighting them in the mech suit. And it's at that point that it's like they're helping each other. Godzilla helps him. He helps Godzilla. They fight them together. They shoot them with this really cool weapon, by the way, which I assume is another movie thing. If not, very cool idea of the shooting a black hole at them to get rid of them.
Why not?
I mean,
like at that point, like, well, we'll try anything.
Nuclear bomb is not going to help against Godzilla. He even fights Godzilla at the end, but basically in a way to choose his own death. And with him on his way out, like, you're not walking away from me. I will make you notice me. Look at me, you damn monster. And in a way, he's just thankful. It's not like he's...
Yeah, he kind of goes out peaceful in the end, where he's just like, I can give up now. Or give up that chase, or give up the that lifelong obsession that he's had with Godzilla.
I can't tell if they kill each other in this moment, but it feels like maybe that's the case, because I don't think Godzilla in Hell is like. I assume Godzilla in Hell isn't like a thing that happens right after this.
I don't know. Yeah, and that's kind of the thought.
Or it's just separate.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, they kind of like one panel there. It kind of imply that Godzilla made it out of the black hole. So
yeah,
like maybe he didn't, but yeah, it does kind of feel like a continuation. Like Godzilla in Hell should be like, okay, he died, now he's falling.
Oh, that's true. Because we do see him swimming.
Yeah, you kind of see the scales going different directions or into the water. So yeah.
Yeah, the only bummer I think is that I wish it was longer. But also, I'm like, you put so much detail into it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just picturing them like the way they had to lay this out on like tables and draw it, and in front of it had to have been exhausting to make. But I'm sure a lot of fun, and a lot of the Godzilla in Hell, I think is just that. It was just like, okay, we did this, but we don't want to stop drawing it. Like we enjoyed this so much. Where can we go?
Yeah, it was cute. It's just just a bunch of Godzilla himself fighting another Godzilla that isn't a Godzilla.
Yeah, it's got this sort of like mimic quality to it.
We should show that at least.
I mean, the imagery is very.
Look how cool it is.
Like between that and then the clouds of dead people traveling through the sky and like floating through the air, and
so cool.
Oh yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, it's definitely like they started off with a quote from Dante's Inferno, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abandon all hope and you enter here.
But I have kind of a question for you on that, because it's like it starts off with Godzilla falling into the pit of hell.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he's falling.
Yeah.
He's done that. He goes through all his adventures, and then at the very end, it's sort of like he falls through the floor and then falls through another hole. And I was kind of wondering, like, because without spoiler alert, like he's falling again, but is he falling into the next level of hell, or is he just in an endless loop and he's restarting over and over again and like confronting himself?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, because if it is a Dante's Inferno reference, then maybe he's falling into the next,
like the next
level
layer.
Of hell. But also, even though Godzilla killed so many people, I'm like, why would you put my baby there? Like, why would you put him there? Mm-hmm. It's not his fault. Which is stupid. But that was my thought. I was like, leave him alone.
Yeah.
No, he killed a lot of people. Like, so far.
Oh, yeah, the destruction of Tokyo alone. But yeah, it was... Yeah, I saw somebody who mentioned about this, that it was like the beauty of destruction was kind of like, could almost be the tagline for this whole series. Because it's like, it's collapsing buildings, it's destroyed forests, it's everything. But they even start every chapter with like a burnt city map over like which the monster marched through it from one side to the other. But it's drawn in such a beautiful way, which is probably not a good thing. But
I mean, it's gorgeous. The colors used are gorgeous. Like, and just even the color palette, you can't help but just want to stare at this forever. Like, I can imagine having one of these, even one page as like framed art on my wall.
I know, I had to force myself to keep going. Because some things like other comics like Invincible, if it's a lot of text and it's a lot of like interpersonal plot lines, I kind of will go through it real quick. Like, I just want to be like, okay, I want to find out what's happening between the two of them. Where's it going to go? But this is one where you really just need to like sit down and just like stare at a panel for a while. Again, just think about all the work that went into it. It's incredible. Yeah.
And man, I could have had more. The minute they introduced like the whole crew of everyone who's like fighting the different kaiju, I just wanted more. I'm really glad it makes sense that they didn't. I'm glad that they did because
it was Oda's arc for the whole thing, but still.
Yeah, because this whole story, like, it's not. I mean, it's about the destruction, but it's not. Because unlike Godzilla movies we've seen where we have a lot of people we see individually how it affects.
Mm-hmm.
It's as if it's just the Oda Godzilla story together. It's just them growing together through life, which sounds silly, but also very much like a Godzilla movie does, where it's about people. It's not about Godzilla.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have to show other people, because otherwise Godzilla is he's just that force of destruction. So you have to have some other way to like tie the movie together and tie it. Yeah.
And Godzilla is his best when he's like a metaphor. Which, if I really wanted to look into this, I'm sure we could use him as a metaphor for war and how he never, Oda can't let go. And of course, he would want to go out the same way because PTSD doesn't allow him to have a life outside of this. But no, we don't need to do that. So what did you think about, so you have any favorite parts, just overall, like, feelings about things?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if there's any specific part that I really point to.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of nice little humorous bits to it that I don't know if the author was intentional about. I'm sure they probably were, but it's got a little bit of levity to the characters as they kind of realize how frustrating and hopeless their situation is. So kind of like that dark, grave humor type stuff to it, which is really fun to read. And just, I love the way they cared so much for the character to draw him out this way, and really bring him out as a. I even like I had to keep going back and looking through it and seeing like how they framed Godzilla in different things and whether it was different from like, because I think in a lot of other movies they have rules about Godzilla where you're only allowed to look up at him from the ground, and you don't do it from the top down because that it diminishes him. And they kind of kept to that throughout the book. There's a lot of times where you're on the same level as Godzilla, but a lot of times you're looking up at him. And it's just the level of impact you see from some of the panels, like the destruction when he's using his beam and everything. Like, it almost feels like you can feel a camera shake or a camera shutter to it because it's so impactful. The way they drew it, I love it.
Yeah, I was really pleased with it. Which, I mean, when I even like flipped through it right after I got it, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." Like, just from art alone.
I just opened up like 1 or 2 pages, and I was like, "Oh, I got to save this for later. This is gonna be a fun read." Yeah,
his art's incredible, Dan. You're right. Like, and I know he's a lot of cover work. I'm curious because Dan, you said something about Orc Strain. That's in the comic he wrote but hasn't finished. So if anybody in the chat has recommendations for other things he's worked on or anything that's like really worth it, because I see it's kind of all over the place. And it seems like he might be kind of a quiet dude from what I saw online. Because I tried to like look him up, and it doesn't feel like there's a ton of like, at least on like YouTube and stuff, of like interviews or anything. It seems like maybe he seems chill. And I don't know anything about them, right? But that's just the vibe that I've gotten compared to some other people that I'm like are very active. And I'm just surprised when I see art that's so good. I just expect to see him everywhere. See, Orc Strain, 9 issues and he stopped with huge gaps.
Oh. I'll have to look that one up. I said new reader still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been reading for a while. I'm still feeling new.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, his Vietnam Spider-Man story is great, and he takes a long time to draw. See, that I feel like that's part of it because this is so well done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you could ever keep to like a comic book schedule.
Yeah, I wonder if it's kind of like the George R.R. Martin example of the comic world. I'll get it done someday.
Because I think about like certain mangaka like Oda who does One Piece. All of his like manga panels are so detailed and they're so like there's so much happening in there. But also that man every once in a while has to chill because his health can't take it. Moose is just run around his butt in the background. So enjoy that, chat.
What bugs do.
It's funny. I had a great time with it. I'd like to read more Godzilla comics, but now I'm like, okay, this is the problem. After seeing Maya Zero, I'm watching Shin Godzilla and then reading this. Because everyone's giving me really great recommendations. I live in constant fear that everything I'll read or watch will not be good in comparison. But also I'm interested so much that I feel like I'll still like it. Because I like cheesy stuff too.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I kind of want to see Godzilla Kong, even though it looks so bad. It looks really cheesy and silly. I think Kong rides Godzilla. I don't know. But also, I kind of want to see it. And they have really cute Kong like drink holders at the movie theater. Or like Kong,
oh, really?
Godzilla ones where it's like a little cup, but it looks like a little him. And
Okay.
I'm a sucker for that.
So not as bad as the Dune popcorn bucket then.
I would have bought that if I could have.
I know, if we could find it.
If I could have, I would have.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of Dune videos since watching that movie.
I know, it keeps popping up on my feed now, so it's just like it's kind of become a constant thing in the background for me.
Yeah, if it's not like a joke thing, it's like real, like talk about, the whole story of Dune. Aliens Dead Orbit by Stokoe is pretty good too. I read an issue of Edge of Venomverse just for his art. I feel like he must have killed at drawing Venom. That just feels like right up his alley based on this. Even though I knew the story would be bad where he didn't write it. Yeah, his writing is good. Like, I can imagine, for him to write and do, that's a lot of work on somebody. That's not typical either. Like,
oh, yeah, right.
Versus manga, right? Like, in Western comics, typically, you don't usually have the same writer, same artist.
Mm-hmm.
And even more common, is the artist changing every so often.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that can be kind of jarring with some Western comics where it's like, wait, this is not the same character I thought. What?
Yeah, and it's, between that and like, changing writers, like editorial making decisions that affects your comic. Like, luckily, IDW, Godzilla, it's its own thing, so it's fine. But like looking at the big two, you're constantly going to be worried that they're going to mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
By being like, hey, this story you like, this character you like, what if we put him in a big event and then we kill him and then we break your heart forever? We kill your husband and
not picking any specific example.
He's dead for so long. And you only see him in flashbacks or other worlds, but now he's back. It's okay. But anyways, the haircut's not great, but let's ignore that. He's still my husband. And I love him. Anyways, this isn't about Roy Harper, but chat knows it's always about Roy Harper.
Yeah, they know.
They do, and they've been with me long enough to see the beginnings when I was wide-eyed and new and young. Orc Stain, not Orc Strain.
Oh, okay.
That sounded right to me.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I read a lot of orc books of different genres that I won't discuss. But chat knows. James knows. Godzilla 54, 84, Sheen and Myers were the best sells. Okay, so I'll watch 54 and 84 then. I've seen there's like crossovers too. Like, I see crossovers with Godzilla all the time at like the comic book store.
Oh, yeah.
That and like Power Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just sort of like a core part of like monster verses, it seems like, all the time.
You just throw him in.
The only thing with 54, even though I know it's the only way they could film it, but just like seeing the guys in the suits, it's just, it's so Power Rangers. It's so
perfect. That's what I want, Dave. That's what I want. But I grew up on that. So to me, I'm like, old footage from 20 years before this came out? Perfect.
Yeah.
Or like, oh man, who's the other like big, he's not a Sentai thing. It's Ultraman.
Oh, Ultraman.
All that stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Godzilla 84. That was sort of, I love bad 80s sci-fi and fantasy films.
Yes.
It's just, they're so entertaining. We still have to watch Krull, by the way. I still have to.
Yes.
I've been screaming that for like 2 years now. It's like, we have to watch Krull.
I mean, we can add that to your birthday, but I was planning on doing Fifth Element plus board games.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there we go.
But we're going to have to watch Godzilla 84. Oh, Biolante is a thing from Godzilla. My friend, Tumel, who did like that album I sent you, he has a song called Biolante. I was like, what is this? I guess it's a Godzilla thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
For Marvel, he'll do a random issue and never continue a story, which is his non-big two work with Ryan drawing. He crushes out covers. I imagine he must. Like, this is beautiful. Like, I'd love to see him at a con and get like a Godzilla print, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll just let myself be one of those. Yeah, you know what? I'm a Godzilla girl, and I'm just going to go ahead and accept it. And I would like some Godzilla stuff.
I would too. Like, I would love to have either the cover of this, or I mean, they've got some of the other covers in here too. But
gorgeous.
Or even just a panel or two blown up to like a big size to put up on the background. Like,
I mean, they're gorgeous. Like, I can't. I mean, it'd be perfect. It'd be perfect on anyone's walls. I love it. I love it. It's like he's not afraid of using pinks. I think you can use pinks and purples and still have it be a scary situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The whole thing kind of is like a sunset vibe to it.
Yeah, I like it.
They're like, I mean, they stuck really close to their same color palette throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it just gives it kind of like that moody feel to it. That's really nice. Yeah, no, they did a great job on it.
Well, so we've basically talked about it a bunch. So now's the time to give our rating. So we always give a rating out of 10, even though ratings,
we do.
you know, yeah.
Okay.
I'll go first so you can feel better. But
oh, you okay? So you're not going to.
I did go last week because
what was that, to crush Omar's soul just a little bit?
Yeah, better than Dark Phoenix Saga. That rating I gave. I tried to like put on Goodreads and then not rate it, and then my friends were like, "I want to see what you rated it because they know." And I was like, "Fine, I'll put it up there." But for me, so I thought about this a lot. Like, this is one that I didn't like leave being like, "Whoa, this is incredible," but I did leave it feeling like the art is obviously a 10 out of 10 by itself. The story very much completed what it needed to complete. You know, it was like a whole thing. There was a whole character arc. This is one I definitely want to keep. So and I tend to be a little too generous sometimes rating, but I'm not going to change that now. It's too late. I got to make sure the curve is correct with my history.
Well, I'm coming into this easy because it's the first one I've rated on the channel. You've got others where people can be like, but you gave a 7 to them. That's not okay.
It's of the time, you know. I'm going. I feel like an 8. I feel like an 8 out of 10 for this because I think it's very well done. I think I want more of it, and I think the story could have done with more, especially like the middle years when they're in Ghana and you have the other people. But then again, maybe all of these things are well explained and thought out in the movies, and so you don't need that in here. So I'm trying to like keep that, you know, as maybe I need to watch some movies and come back, but I'm thinking 8. I feel like I should say 7 out of 5 or 7.5, but I'm gonna say 8.
Keep it to round numbers.
Yeah.
I'm saying the artwork, and sorry, I don't know what's going on with my camera. It's actually super bright in here, but I don't know.
Story of my life.
Streaming.
Okay.
Streaming is not kind to me, I guess. So, no, the artwork is 10 out of 10. Like,
yes.
No question. It's hard for me to imagine.
15 out of 10, even.
It really is. Story wise, I didn't really get a chance to think about rating numbers before we started here, but like 8.5 out of 10. The only thing that brings it down a little bit is I also want to know more about the time in hell at the end too. Like what's going on? Like, how does this tie in? Where is it going? More about that. I think maybe it was intentional to leave like no words in it.
And chances are it was a one-off thing that they just decided to put with it.
Yeah.
This could probably be like a by itself issue that they were like, well, he's written other Godzilla, so let's just throw it in. Because that happens with comics a lot, where they're like, this thing that they wrote is not related to the story at all, but same character. Yeah.
And the story, like, I like the arc. Like it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and even like, more detail in there. I think that's great. I think it's the same thing. I want more. It's definitely a really short read. Like, it's something you can finish in
quick.
Under an hour.
I did 30 minutes. But that's me.
Yeah, it depends on how much time you want to just sit there and like absorb the detail. But Godzilla and Hell issue was a completely separate part of a different series.
Oh, okay.
Not related to the Half Century War, related to the first issue. Okay, so that, I guess that answers that too, where it's like he's not dead. He may or may not be dead at the end of the original series. Probably not dead, and so there he would like just fall into hell from that. It's just a completely separate.
So is Godzilla and Hell like a series? Like, because now I'm curious. Oh, it is. Okay. So this series is a 5-issue comic book miniseries, as in 2015. Each issue featured a different creative team. The series chronicles Godzilla sent into an eventual escape from hell, where he encounters demonic versions of his past foes. That's really cool.
Past foes, okay.
That sounds really cool, actually.
Interesting. I thought it was like himself, like a mirror of himself down there.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Or maybe it's just a different Godzilla or something.
Yeah. I'm curious. The first thing I saw scrolling down was somebody on Reddit being like, there's no way that a clunky giant lizard should be able to get out of hell, but it fits the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same with you. I would have loved to have seen more about the other monsters or the other people, or expanding it, or his friend. Like do one issue where it's Kentaro instead of Ota as the main character. But
yeah, that would be that. I mean,
it's really good.
Even just like, and this, of course, you know, when you're spending so much time on art, like I get it, but it's like, if I were going to expand on this, I would get more of his day to day, and I would get some Kentaro, like you said, but have him explore how you're just a character that probably has a life. Kentaro probably does, but he's like, well, I can't leave him alone. Like a wife and a child, and they're like, hey,
yeah, right.
I know.
Because if you're chasing Godzilla all the time, it's like you may just cease to be at any time if he just turns in the wrong direction. So, yeah. No, 8.5 out of 10 for the whole thing, maybe 9. I don't know. That's
pretty good. That's a good one. You know, there's been over your readers where it's been bad. Bad. So
as long as it's the understanding, this is it's just a limited series, and like you just go into that knowing it's gonna that's it. And
so new reader friend.
Anymore.
Did you enjoy Godzilla enough to read Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong? You know what? Yeah, I'll do it. Why not? Alien Dead Orbit also has the same issue by him with the characters, but they're worse and not fleshed out. The art is just fantastic, especially the burn up bodies. Ooh, the xenomorphs.
Xenomorphs. That would be fun. Cool. I might have to put that on. Actually, I am going to put that on my list right now because that sounds fun.
It sounds really cool.
I love that universe. It's been screwed up with the last couple of movies, but like just the whole
Well, my friend of mine, Lee, who's been on the show a lot, talks about how because he had a whole plan, right, with like the prequels to Alien, but they didn't work out. So they ended up like that show on HBO was basically like what his plan would have been for like Alien.
Oh, what was that?
Man, what was it called? It was weird. Whatever it was, I forgot. No, I'll never remember. I'll remember later.
Okay.
Actually, if I look up HBO sci-fi show, then maybe Raised by. No, is it Raised by Wolves? That came out.
Raised by Wolves?
I feel like that might be it. Robin, if you jump on my computer again.
I don't know how that would relate to Aliens, but it was an interesting limited series.
Maybe that's not it. Robin.
James is saying Raised by Wolves as well.
Yeah, Raised by Wolves, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, like, that was his common plan with it.
Oh. Apparently. All right.
I'm not as good at talking about. Lee was really good about it. You'll have to meet Lee. You'll like him.
Okay.
He was on a few weeks ago when we reviewed Mass Effect, and then he and I talked about our like grad paper relating to Mass Effect. But diplomacy and like how you can look at diplomacy and strategic. Oh my gosh, strategy.
I had to pick mine out. It would just
See, sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. You can read the Spider-Man Vietnam story by him, which is short and he did for free. It's Peter's letter to Aunt May with a narration as he fights in Vietnam as Spider-Man. That's really cool.
That sounds interesting.
He didn't color it since he just wanted to do it and post it online. Yeah, I'm very interested in this guy.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know where I'm sure our local comic book place probably has copies of that. So
yeah, it could be. Or like on Marvel Unlimited or something, which I've got access to. All of the like comic book online services things I've got the hookup.
Okay.
I don't know why I do this, but it's too late. Oh, we're getting another Alien movie.
Oh, we are? Okay.
All right, I'll go. I kind of like the prequels, but I don't have as much like nostalgia with Alien, so I'm just like, ooh, this is neat. So I'm like, what's happening?
I just read the other day about the plan that was supposed to be Alien 4.
Yeah.
Before they came out with Resurrection, it was the whole thing. I just it brings back some of the characters from Aliens. Oh yeah,
I'm too scared to play the video game. I'm way too scared.
Aliens versus Predator, or like they were stressful.
Yeah,
that was.
I've never. The only Predator movie I've ever seen is that really cool, the newest one, the really cool one that's on Hulu.
Oh, Prey.
Loved Prey. I've never seen another Predator movie ever.
Okay, we'll have to fix that. We can watch the first one is worth watching.
Okay,
definitely with Arnold. as
Yeah,
part of
down.
it. It's so many good meme-worthy moments from it. But Prey was really good. Prey was nice.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they filmed it in both English and
Yeah.
Native American. I can't remember which one, but that was really great. I haven't watched it. I think I've only watched it in the native language one
Really? That's
so
cool.
far. So I probably need to go back and watch it in English just to see
I
if
love
there's,
that.
I don't know. I'm the nerd like that where I want to go back and find the differences.
Yeah, it's been my goal over the past, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years to, like, watch a lot of these iconic, like, series that I'd never watched. Because, like, Alien was one of them I didn't watch until, I don't know, maybe like 7 years ago. Like Terminator I watched last year.
Okay.
But only because apparently I was born the day Judgment Day came out.
Oh, right.
And so now I've used that. I'm like, oh, I came out when Judgment Day came out. So I've still only watched Judgment Day and not any of the other ones. But like I know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still stuff like Blade Runner. I've never seen. So I want to fix that. I never saw like.
Oh, we need to fix that too because Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, I want to see them.
Which is pretty good. There's actually a whole series of Terminator books that are pretty good too. I was into that when I was middle school or something. It was a long time ago at this point, but
of course, I say that as if I'm like making fun, but not because I was reading Lord of the Rings in middle school, and then I'm not a Lord of the Rings girl really, but I realized taught me how to speed read. Thank you, Tolkien. You added so much extra description that was needed that now I'm a speed reader. So he's the reason I read so fast now.
Especially the Two Towers. It definitely are parts where
without him.
Can we keep going, please?
Without him, I couldn't read an omnibus in a day.
Mm-hmm.
I read like 3 books yesterday. It's fine.
I'm excited to see you finish Mistborn. I know we just derailed this from comics into like fantasy and science fiction
I'm reading my first Brandon Sanderson, thanks to Dave.
Yes.
I just finished part 1 of Mistborn.
Okay. All right.
I think it's taking me longer because I'm reading on my Kindle. So I can't be really quick. Which is not a bad thing. But I like it so far.
That's great. Yeah. Brandon Sanderson is another one of those. And we've talked about it before, but you know, he's a little slow on coming out with the novels, or he'll split it up between 3 or 4 different series.
Yeah.
And everyone's just foaming at the mouth. Like, just finish the Way of Kings or whatever the most recent one is. It's we just want to know the ending. And it'd be amazing if they did a Mistborn comic of it. Like I think they could.
I mean, what I've read so far, I think there's a way you could do it, but I think you have to. I don't know. Like I almost feel like it'd be so good as an anime because I think you could show how they use magic. Well,
yeah, because
you like show the inner workings of the body and stuff, and
or like they raise their senses up really high. Like I feel like you could express that really well in comic book form. There's this running joke that Sanderson will finish Game of Thrones. Honestly, I can see it as. Thank you, Elliot. Pretty much read all of Mistborn. You've read all of Mistborn, right? Oh yeah.
Or just the first? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I really like it so far. I think I need to just check out the actual physical. I think I'll go faster. There's some sci-fi and fantasy that I do better if I have it physically in front of me.
I don't think I have physical copies of it anymore. I've had to give up so many physical books, which I'm like the opposite of Omar, who has like everything.
You need to see it in person now.
Yeah.
We gotta get you over there. All of the Zords.
So what does Tokyo Go Godzilla? I actually don't know what that is.
Oh no, there goes Tokyo, go Godzilla. That song.
Sheltered child.
What?
Yes, very much so.
Also, my cat may unplug something from my computer, so if I disappear. Robin, get out from behind my computer.
It's just be me in chat, like, hey, how's it going?
It's happened before, people. This bitch. You are not Godzilla. You're not. It's a Billy. Get out of here. I'm gonna have to send you the song.
Okay.
You should know it.
Please do.
Well, anyways, I guess we're reaching the end. You should come back, David. Have you had a fun time?
Oh, this is very fun.
I should ask you to unlive because then, like, you're required to say yes.
Right.
Have you had a good time?
I'm really enjoying, like, as I said, you're kind of my dealer for all this. Like you're slipping the comics my way, being like, you might like this one. Well, how about try this one?
Yeah, I want you
So
to
I'm having a lot
borrow.
of fun with that. It's expanding my my knowledge, and they're really fun. So
yeah, chat next week. I'll be here with Peter M, aka Crushing Crisis. He's decided on Peacemaker, which I actually am going to lend you once that show's done.
Oh yeah,
because this is so funny. So funny. Because speaking of oh, what's his name? We just talked about it. It's not Kaneki. It is that John Cena movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ricky Stenicki.
Ricky Stenicki, yeah.
Yep.
Because now Peacemaker is basically just John Cena.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you gotta read it. It's so
kind of like The Rock or something. He's just got the one thing, and he's just.
He's perfect.
It's so much fun.
It's perfect. This is written by a friend of mine, Kyle Stark. It's so good. Yes, Stenicki. Thank you. Kaneki is Grease. Where's my Grease comic at? You know, a comic about 30-year-olds pretending they're in high school.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, stick around here. Once I say I'm leaving, I'm not actually leaving. I'm just ending the broadcast. So just stay here so we can say goodbye.
Cool.
Chat, thank you so much. Thank you, Dave, for being here. I'll be back next week. And of course, Omar will be here tomorrow night live, talking about some movie or whatever. I don't look what we won. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you have a good night. I'll have to go leave and go watch the second episode of Physical 100. Gross. No.
You're never letting it. You're never gonna live that down at this point.
Bye, guys. Good night.